Today's episode is brought to you by Agrarius, a South African investor specializing in agriculture. Agrarius founders originate from the farming community and have experienced how financial markets don't understand agricultural sector needs. They have thus fundraised from JSE investors to make money work for everyone. Agrarius offers a wide range of solutions, be it working capital, new equipment, new plantings and farm purchases. Whenever there is business potential, there is a way to make it happen. Agrarius, fair funding for agriculture. For more information about funding options, visit agrarius.co.za, a product of 274 Investment Managers. An authorized financial services provider, 31045.
Well, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. We've got Conrad Schutte here, and Rico Basson, Rico from SA Wine, and Conrad from Vinpro. Now, it used to be one organization, and then when we did the first podcast with Rico, I think we just spoke about it just split up, or it was about to split, or in that process. So, gents, welcome.
Thank you.
It's not often we have two guests, but I think we can't do it differently. You guys are one organization, so we would love to chat about wine. And they brought us...
Look at this. Is this not absolutely beautiful?
They brought us vines and they brought us wine.
Do come again.
Round two.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nice to have you guys here.
So I think from your side, is each one of you just briefly introduce yourself. We've got people from all over listening to this, so there will be people that know you and some that don't. So
You're the younger guy, so you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Rico. So I'm Conrad. I'm the CEO of the Vinpro Group. I've been with Vinpro for more than 15 years. And currently we do two companies. So the one is Vinpro, that represents our wine grape producers. And then also Vititech, which is an affiliate of Vinpro. And it's 100% owned by Vinpro shareholding. And they do two things over there. The one is plant improvement. And then we also do some grafting of sign rootstocks and grafted material that we sell off into the wine industry. So that's a quick introduction.
yeah.
Okay.
What I always say, I'm an ex-banker, and then people will say, what are you doing here? So I'm Rico. I'm the CEO of South African Wine, ex-Vinpro CEO, and we'll give the detail as to how we ended up here. But I've been involved in agriculture all my life, agricultural economy, got into banking, and then came to the wine industry 12 years ago. We need to add up. Good to be here to share some knowledge and wisdom, hopefully.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, thanks for joining us. International wine marketing. Is that fall within your brief? What is the scenario? What is the situation? Is our wine, our exports growing? What's the picture?
What's the health of the
Yes.
of the South African wine industry? If you look at it as a whole, how's it looking today?
I smile because, and you as well, that's the one question you get everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Tell me. And I immediately think about there are so many players, it depends.
Yes.
I've just been to the US, in California specifically, who's about 4 times bigger than our sector. And it was a good experience. Firstly, they are struggling with material challenges on stock and surplus, and they're uprooting. And you do reflect on our situation, because somehow, over many years with limited support, we managed to be resilient and to be aligned. And I do think it's due to our growers, but also the advice and specifically the technical focus. International is a tough place. I think the wine segment, it's been all over the headlines. Consumers are drinking less. And it didn't help that we had tariffs and disruptions and still ongoing. So To navigate within all of this, I think we at the moment are doing fairly well if I compare us to other big exporters. And I think we're doing well because we focus on the premium and the quality and the varietals and not so much the bulk trade. But there is no one answer for your question because there are always people doing very well for reasons, and there are unfortunately people that struggle. But I think South Africa as a sector is in a good position to get some and take hold of opportunities.
That's very good to know, because I was at the day in January, and I saw the stats for the consumption of wine internationally, and how particularly in the US it's really taken a dive, and that you've just come from there. And it's always good to have some context that you're saying in comparison, South Africa generally is not there. We're still kind of doing better than that. It's good to know.
I think you realize when you're there how cost effective we produce.
Okay.
And
because we have to.
And perhaps it's a double-edged sword. I did the calculation. We produce a litre of Cabernet 4 times cheaper than a US producer. Now, again, the double-edged sword is that's why our pricing is also fairly low, because we're recouping cost. But we are really cost effective, and I think you will find it all over agriculture that South Africans can do it. There's one silver lining, and that is that we have got a big domestic market opportunity. So remember, we export only 40% of the product. The rest is consumed locally, and we can talk about this, but I do think there's potential to, with tourism, focusing on the Gauteng market, a young population, to bring new consumers into the category. And I think that's a big drive for us.
That is very exciting, but I want to go back to something you said at the beginning, and that is that it's a lot more, we are more cost effective. Why is it so expensive to produce wine in California?
The biggest challenge, apart from the land, is labor.
Okay. So it comes down to labor.
And much like ours, I'm not saying we've got ample labor, but the labor is contractors.
Oh.
They do try and mechanize, but a lot of these migrant labours was hampered with the Trump immigration tariff, and therefore suddenly supply demand. They do find that people will work, but at a different price. And I think that's where they really, really struggle. I think all over the world, you've been to Australia many a time, Conrad. I do think technically we have become so fit. But it's also true that we've cut out all the cost. So if somebody tells me the farmers need to save more, I will say, go to a hot place. I think we have, the margin is not on the farm.
Yeah.
The margin is in the value chain efficiency in other places, and sometimes we need to be honest that the margin is just not there. But yeah, that's part of the dynamics out there.
What is the minimum wage in California now at the moment?
I haven't that number. Look, I need
When we were there in 2022, I think it was $16 an hour. If I
You remember better than I do.
Yeah, because I made some calculations in one of the pack houses, and they were earning pretty well then.
Look, when you go there, you need to calculate in acres and and gallons and stuff. Remember, just for more context, our European producers, which is the 3 biggest ones, France, Spain, and Italy, produce 50% of all the wine. They are highly subsidized.
All the wine in the world.
Yes. So that 3 countries produce half of the wine. Those growers are subsidized to the tune of 7 billion euro. It's big numbers, and we are up against that when we compete. So yeah,
Definitely not a level playing field. When you've got people like that they actually are their numbers don't have to
add up.
They are there. They are being paid to do that.
Yeah, the growers break even because of a subsidy, not because of profit. But again, we are in our own game, and that's why we need to be very focused with limited resources. And I think by design, the 2 organizations, the design is the way we play. And our way we play needs to be focused but agility. We need some speed in a changing world, and it's very difficult. There are wineries with a 100-year strategy, which is fantastic. Coming back from the US, and I look at how the consumer market is shifting, you think, how do you run a long strategy with all these changes where fine dining restaurants are just closing down, fast food, Mexican burritos are flying, low alcohol wines aren't necessarily getting traction. So yeah, it is a world of fog where you need to see where can you go.
And if you can give us some idea from the grower perspective, from the more local, I mean, how's it going on the farm?
Yeah, thank you. I think in terms of challenges, there's also always challenges on the table. A couple of the challenges that we're seeing on the wine grape production side is definitely climate volatility. So if you have a look at the past couple of seasons, you will remember that we had a couple of floods, especially up in the Olifant River and then also in the Brodie River, where producers had to incur huge cost to put that vineyards back in working order. So we also noticed a couple of fires, especially in the past month in January, in Paul and Franschhoek wine growing region. And then in previous seasons, we also saw some things like frost in the low-lying areas, like up in the Orange River and then also the Brodie River. So I think in terms of climate volatility, that's going to be with us in the future. That's going to stay with us. So we really need to learn how to adapt to be profitable with those challenges. I think Rico rightly touched on some of the costs. The cost will probably rise in the future. So on the Vinpro side, we have a production plan where we have about 270 different entities within the wine industry that we do a benchmarking study on. So that's about 30% of the tonnages and 30% of the hectares produced in the industry. So it's a really good sample to give you a good indication what's happening. So in the 2024 harvest, we had a look at those numbers. The return on investment for producers were just above 2%, so not very high at that stage. But it's really nice to see an increase in the 2025 harvest figures that we released in January, where we're sitting above 7%. So it's really nice to see that good increase.
It's a big year last year. Last year was a
That's
big year.
incredible. Such good news.
Yeah.
And that's mainly driven by the higher volumes that we could pick, but also good price movement in the market. So I think there's some good news as well. And it's nice to see the service providers having a look at their long-term strategy to invest in the wine industry, and then also producers to investing into the industry with new vineyard plantings, etc. So I think there's some opportunities out there as well.
What is that? And I know that you guys have got like that benchmark that for per hectare you need to earn X amount of money. What is that for the people that are not in the wine industry? What is that benchmark standard that you've said to the you need to do this for you to be profitable? Can you expand on that? Can you mention the number?
Well, there are two numbers that we look at. The one is the net profit, the more important number.
Yes.
And the other one is the turnover number. So the turnover number is adjusted annually, but for now it's about 120,000 rand.
Yeah, we're in 2026 now, for the record, for anybody watching it
And
in 3 years' time.
With I think a break even of about 45,000 rand. Now the reason for doing the numbers is the grower need a return of 7 to 10% to stay in the business, and that does cater. So we do find on the study groups the top third exceed those numbers, but the bottom third struggle to get the yield and to get to their turnover numbers. And in agriculture, you'll find that then it's difficult.
But what determines that? Because you might have a guy producing a niche range of wine that's very expensive versus a guy doing just bulk, for instance.
Yeah, so remember this measurement is purely on grape deliveries, tonnages.
Yes.
So obviously, beyond that farm gate, and I think it's one point to make, this wine value chain is one of the most complex value chains that you will find. I mean, the level of value add You take something from, here we've got stockies, vines. You go from a nursery to a luxury good.
Yes.
Think about it. In other agricultural commodities, you do value add, but you don't go that far. You don't take table grapes that far. And I think that's the beauty and also where the cost lies. As soon as you build stock. So Dewald, we convert all the value add back to a rand per ton and yield, and that's where the 120,000 come from.
Okay.
I always, the fruit guys and the berry people will always say, well, their turnover is R1 million per hectare. And I would answer and say, well, so are we. If you take Elgin Chardonnay, put it in a bottle, your turnover per hectare is more than R1 million per hectare. So turnover is vanity, as we say. It's what do you make back on cash flow.
But maybe just to touch on your previous question on labor, so it's interesting to have a look at those numbers. But in the most recent production plan, the labor cost, so it's actually investment from a producer side, it's about 30% of the total amount of money they spend on a hectare. So I think in terms of efficiency on the farm side, it's really important that the people working on the farm understand why they do certain aspects, and that's why training of people is so important in the industry. So on the Vinpro side, we do some training. I think last time I had a look at the numbers, we trained more than 5,000 people over a 7-year period on specific technical modules. And it's nice to see people getting more efficient. But that's also where we play closely together with Rico and his learning management system to capture all that data onto one system and kind of have a look at the progress of careers on that system.
So this
Fascinating.
The step change, because the question is, what are we doing different? Otherwise, we're going to get the same result.
Yeah.
And I think with all these structures and changes, we are leaning for both regulation and growth far further than the farm gate, which is logical, but it's important that we come with solutions, and those solutions link to consumers and markets and that development. And so for us, that growth would always be exports, domestic, and tourism, and even brandy, which is also now part of SA Wine.
That's right.
But the point he made is very important, that the other decision we made is that we love the product, and it's a wonderful product, and we love the competitions, but we need to equally invest in people. And for a sector that for every one job on a farm creates 10 others downstream.
Wow.
Significant. 270,000 jobs. Now, I always times it by 4 dependents. That's
Yes.
1 million South Africans that benefit from...
But that's dependent on the...
Yeah. But the sector, if you think about livelihoods, that's the magnitude. Now, okay, it's not on farm only. It's distribution and packaging and barrels and everything.
Restaurants.
So to link to his, we started at Vinpro when we worked together with the upskilling of farm workers and also giving them, I think we changed their CV by capturing the modules. But we soon realized if we map the whole chain, there are 123 career paths.
Incredible.
And the skill set that we need of tomorrow, as we all know, is vastly different. And technology mean we don't only run shift papers. So I think the bigger picture is we are professionalizing all those career paths. And for that, we've set up a new company, which is unique in agriculture. It's a professional body.
Okay.
It's registered with SAQA, which is the qualification authority. And in this year, and we can talk about that, we will now do designations of different careers. And we hope to do the viticulture one, where we professionalize them, because while winey doctors and CAs need to accredit annually, but our winemakers. And so I think in years to come, this initiative will change not only people's skill set, but also will mean we get that efficiency. And things that we are doing is to standardize tasting panel standards. Somebody that need to be a wine taster,
Okay.
go to a course, do some practical, but who looks at the standard?
Yes.
If you're a convener, where do you learn? And so these are fairly simple things to fix while making sure the standards are also international, but it's got a broad-based impact. It is development across a myriad of people. I mean, big competitions like Veritas probably has 200, 250 tasters on those panels. So I think the people element on farm, but also looking at the skill set of tomorrow and how will AI play out and all of these things. So yeah.
That sounds incredibly empowering for people that are working in those industries to actually be able to be judged to a standard and know that they fulfill that standard.
Yeah.
I think for anybody that's
Yeah.
working in those kind of careers, to know that you've made the grade and you've been judged and you've been given the seal of approval,
Yeah.
that must be phenomenal.
So,
Does this exist elsewhere in the world?
Not as far as we know.
Sure.
So that's quite unique.
It is a proudly South African concept.
Wow.
We won an innovation award last year with the
Incredible.
Cape Business Chamber for this.
Okay.
It's not rocket science, but it needs a team that's dedicated, and I think it does create a bit of a wave. We've got another initiative called 30 Under 30 now.
Yes.
Guys, I must admit I was very skeptical when my team came up. Not because I'm older than 30, Conrad, because I said, well, why? And I was so surprised. It's really about you can nominate a dynamic person with talent and 30 will be chosen and awarded, recognized per year. That thing has taken off. We've now, in year 6, I think we've got 150. They call themselves alumni now, and on their social handles, they would say, proud winner 30 under 30 2024, and it's become a thing of recognition. And there's a lesson that people want to be recognized. I see you, and it's not only I see you as a grower or family son or a daughter, I see you as a graphic designer. I see you as a photographer. And what is happening, and I think it's unique, is collaboration and networks are being built. And I keep on saying, don't come to me with a story that farmers don't want to collaborate or winemakers. People don't know each other. And so a big part of what we are doing is to introduce people, young and old. Because people that are in Chardonnay or bottled wine, that's their thing. That's what they do. They're not going to sit and drink something else elsewhere. And our biggest single advantage is we're not big, and if we can collaborate, that's a strength,
Yeah.
And I think this is what you're seeing coming through. South
That's
Africans
amazing.
playing together.
Maybe just an interesting story on that training that Rico talked about as well. So I remember when we rolled out the pruning training for farm workers, there was a stage where a barista worked in a restaurant, and that was at COVID time, so he could not perform those barista duties in a restaurant anymore. And then he came to our pruning course and he completed that. And it was really nice to have feedback at the end of the pruning season. That farm owner called us and he said, listen here, this guy was a barista in the restaurant and now he's one of the best pruners on my farm. So it's really nice to see that transfer of skills and upgrading of skills. And maybe just to add, Rico, to the 30 under 30 program that they run. On the Vinpro side, on the technical side, it's also really difficult to find technical people with some experience in the industry as well. So we also bring in interns within the environment, and the idea is that the interns stay in the environment for about 18 months, and we send them around to the different divisions within Vinpro, but also to affiliate companies or companies that they could learn from. And it's really nice to see how those individuals get taken up into the industry. So some of them are employed by Stellenbosch University. Some of them are employed by big cooperatives in the Olifants wine growing region at this stage. Yeah, so I think it's important to build on the young leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah, my question was going to be is that this accreditation system that is so unique, how will that be implemented on farm level? So for instance, you've got a big guy that owns a couple of farms in Robertson area, whatever. How does it help him? How would that come into his business?
So it's voluntary, firstly.
Yes.
So it's not a mandatory focus. It's not an audit function. So, and I think what we have is the employer register himself or herself as a company, and employees. So the big thing what we want to achieve here is we want to capture everything that moves on training. For the simple reason that I think we do a lot of training, we just don't know where the people are.
Yes.
And
Or if it's being implemented.
So if you now see on the system with so many thousand, the individual can go, I always say, if I've done all the tractor driver courses and I want to look for other employment, I will just go to the system and pull my CV and I can show you.
Yeah.
I was top of class in all of this. Talent, if we need to figure out where is the next young, dynamic black female that can look at a probable stint in going to Peru or wherever, we can track that. And I think what we're doing is we can fast track careers and paths and pull people together. And I think that's a simple thing, but so powerful.
What I'm hearing between what the two of you have said is phenomenal, because of our country's incredible unemployment level, the least employed people are the young people. And what normally stands between them and getting a job is experience. So you don't know something. If you've worked with it a while, what's the saying? You can't learn about swimming from a book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be in there. You've got to do it. So if you've been an intern for 12 or 18 months, you've got some idea of something, and you've got something to offer someone who's considering employing you.
Yeah.
So you have to just do it. You have to get in there and do it.
It's also like the barista. You might not know you are the best pruner next year if you've got no.
It's a benchmark too.
If you've got no pruning experience or exposure to it.
It's also a reality from an economic perspective. We're not going to create huge numbers of jobs on farms in future. In actual fact, most farmers are mechanizing.
Yeah.
But that's an opportunity as well for us in the way that we tell the agricultural story. Not a lot of people want to go and prune when it's so cold or be out yesterday. But imagine once we tell them the story of those 122 career paths, freight forwarding, psychology, graphic design, and we use our service providers to fast track them. And so I'm not saying wine is sexy. I'm saying there's a lot of opportunities. And we most certainly are in a better position to go and attract talent. And one of the nice stories I'm thinking about, we really struggled to get people of color to come and study winemaking. And I think what somebody at Stellenbosch did, you may be aware, Conrad, is they went to schools and they said, all your top pupils that wanted to go study medicine and medical, can we get them, and they didn't make the cut, can we get their names? And they got them and they invited them down to Stellenbosch for a winter week. And we got the most amazing black, female, talented people that has got science and maths. And a number of them enter the sector now as winemakers. That was part of the protege program. So there are different ways. We need to work harder to go and find the talents and then make sure we keep the talent. So, yeah.
Often it boils down to exposure. And the point is that you need to expose kids at school to these careers. By the time they have left school and they're making decisions, you very easily lose them. And they have to, the earlier the better, that they get exposed to this kind of thing.
We've had the discussion the other day as well. Whereas by the time they go to, well, we all still working standards. Today's grade 10, where they've got to choose subjects. They've already kind of made up their mind that they want to be a doctor or a CA or something like that. Yeah. It's purely because they've not seen the opportunities within agriculture. I think that is, you can't. You can't go to a university and try and convert them there because they've already made up their mind.
Yeah.
The people in the agricultural faculty, they already know which
Yeah.
way but we need them in like grade 7, grade 8, grade 9.
But a lot of the future job prospects will probably not come out of agricultural teaching.
Yes.
They already come out of engineering. They will come out of
Exactly.
AI, tech, artisans. You look at everything that comes up. If you ask our wineries now what do they need, and then they will say, I need a proper plumber. And I need an electrician. Not another winemaker.
But
Very, very
Dewald,
interesting.
Sorry, Louise. I think that's a really interesting comment. So we also collaborate on knowledge transfer platforms. We'll probably get to that a bit later, but a platform called ADVICO, the Advancement of Viticulture Collective. So we work really closely with Stellenbosch University, and we read at about 6 hectares of their training vineyards at Stellenbosch University. So we put up different training systems, trailer systems, varieties, rootstocks, pruning systems for those students to be trained on. And I think it's probably world class. I'm very proud of the outcome of that initiative. And then we are also taking it a bit earlier. So at Dewald Agricultural College, we also have a demonstration site to actually introduce the younger people to different varieties, red varieties and white varieties. So we're making inroads to being innovative and in getting young people involved in the industry.
Is it possible to bring something like this, that kind of model? I know the citrus industry, and we must still speak to them a little bit about it, has brought in a citrus course into certain schools at high school level. Is it something like, I'm not saying just the wine industry, but agriculture in general, to bring it into like
The curriculum.
not just the curriculum, but to bring it to call it a rural school.
Okay.
Riebeek Kasteel Primary or high school, whatever, for instance. Is it a possibility?
It's happening. I mean, a wine being alcohol, obviously there's a red flag when
but
you
it's
talk.
before the alcohol
But
part.
in Robertson, for example, there is a project, I think you guys got involved, where AB, a retired CEO, got involved. They planted a vineyard at the school and the kids can make some wine.
Wow, it's very cool.
Is it Robertson or Bonnievale?
Robertson.
I think it's
Okay,
Robertson.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
exciting.
that
Robertson High
Jace
School.
Clarabel School in Bonnievale also has something.
The same there. So it happens. I mean, Vinpro planted and replanted a phenomenal project, 5 hectares at Welgevallen. That is the university's what is a proefplaas? The
Experimental farm. Yes, we've actually
Yeah.
seen
and guys, that 5 hectares is world class. I
Fantastic.
mean, I think UC Davis has something similar in Robert Mundavi, but the reason for that was research, but also to make sure that our students and our researchers work on scientific, top-notch blocks versus the old Haasbeck blocks. So that's the kind of thing where I think an industry body can play a role to facilitate. And we cannot do everything, but we can close these gaps. I think Conrad and myself has got a unique vantage point where you sit. It doesn't mean we have got all the answers, but a lot of the things in agriculture and in government at the moment, which is really broken, is where coordination doesn't happen. And a good example for us, when we got involved in wine tourism as a growth sector, we realized that the biggest need is not the 23 wine routes. In actual fact, they are well established, some more than others. There's nobody between that 23 and Department of Tourism that can coordinate.
Oh, okay.
And so we appointed and set up a desk that is helping these routes, and at this stage doing bookings and run a bot to make sure we do that. So it's facilitation. Often I always tell my team everything looks broken, so be a bridge builder. Hey,
Okay.
you just need to keep on building the bridges and you'll find the gaps will close. So yeah.
Amazing. It's a very innovative way of looking at things. You spoke about top-notch vineyards, and we've got an example here on the table of a beautiful vine that's been grafted, and you can see the wax on the graft here. Tell us about the health of the actual vines and what Vititech does to improve the quality and the health of the vines.
Yes, thank you, Louise. So this is actually a Cabernet Sauvignon vine that I brought along. But yeah, so we make that in the Vititech environment. So Vititech has two main functions in the industry. The one is plant improvement, and then the other one is propagation as well. So in terms of plant improvement in the industry, it's actually really nice to go back and have a look at old photos, and then you can see what the vineyard status looked like 30, 40, 50 years ago, and in the nursery side as well. And if you compare that with what we're seeing on the nursery and the vineyard side at that stage, it's chalk and cheese. So it's a total different ball game. And I think the plant improvement organizations in South Africa played a really big role in that. Vititech is not the only one. There are other reputable plant improvement organizations as well. But typically on the Vititech side, we will bring in plant material. So we have a relationship with Entaf. They are in France. So currently we have about 30 different cultivars, about 90 different clones within our library that we can provide to wine grape producers. But I think the important thing when we bring in any new clonal material is to take that through the plant improvement scheme. So we clean that of virus. We do a virus elimination technique, which is a scientific technique. But in short, they will put that plant in a warm room. We call that heat therapy at a higher temperature. So that will actually create the shoots to grow really fast. And that shoot will grow faster than what the virus can spread in the vine.
Okay.
And then they will cut the top
grafting.
0.2 millimeters of that apical part of the shoot, put that on a growth media, and create a total new plant. So that plant is hopefully clean of any viruses. And it's a long process. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of expertise, about 4 to 5 years before you can put that out into the industry. But I think that's such a crucial role for Vinpro and Vititech to play in, to make sure that the bedrock and the foundation of the industry is clean and virus-free. So we will continue with that. And then we also do clonal development in terms of South African clones. So it's really nice to see different things coming in from overseas. But remember, our grapevines are out in the field sometimes for a long time. And then we get something that's called epigenetic changes. So that means that the gene of the vine does not change, but the gene expression could change. Okay. And in that selection, we're actually looking for things that's different in terms of drought tolerance, water usage, etc. So we've been working really closely with the Old Vine Project on selecting Chenin Blanc vines. So if I remember correctly, it's about 22 different sites in South Africa with vineyards that were more than 40 years old. We selected those vines that were special, with probably bigger bunches or better growth, virus-free. And then we took that through the whole virus elimination process as well. And those vines are available to the industry this year, and next year we will have more available. So I think just being really technical on the technical side, Vititech plays a critical role over there, and it's paying off the dividends in the industry.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
and the old vine thing is really an interesting story.
Yeah, I'm curious about the process of developing varieties in wine grapes. We know how it works in table grapes. Yeah. I presume it's quite similar, but like for instance, you said 30 different varieties. Does that all mean that, okay, right, I've got 30 and there are going to be 30 different bottles of wine? Or is there something that I can bottle as a Cabernet Sauvignon to increase volume, for instance, on this? Does it work like that? Or?
So typically those would be different clones of Chenin Blanc, if you go back to the example that I used. Yeah. So on the bottle, it would probably still say Chenin Blanc, but there's a lot of different clones that you could use, and the different clones would probably have something like a different bunch size, yes, different flavor profile, and we can use that to get to your specific wine style. So in terms of grapevine breeding, we do not really focus on creating new breeds, like a new Cabernet Sauvignon, different breed out there.
Across a Cabernet and a Pinotage, for instance, or
exactly. So in in Rico's environment, in the SA Wine RDI environment, they do actually have a grapevine breeding project running, and they are looking into certain things, specifically looking into drought tolerance and resistance to powdery and downy mildew. But that would probably be a clone and not necessarily a new variety that we put out onto the market.
One of the biggest benefits, he's the viticulturist, is I think we followed the French model in demarcation. I think ours is slightly better. But what we can do and they can't is our producers are allowed fairly freedom, what they want to plant and the combinations they want to plant. We go to old French areas, you plant Pinot Noir and that's what you plant.
Okay.
And that's prescribed by the industry body also.
And I think talking speed and agility and making this nursery so important is obviously we want to be relevant on combinations, and obviously the combination is a rootstock, which could be the soil or irrigation or resistance, but obviously the clone. And I think that's a huge strength. It is an area which I think is still underinvested. But we plant, Conrad, 8 million vines per year. That means we need to graft 20 million per year. So it's big numbers, guys, that we need to put through. And we want to make sure that it's the best quality material that can allow a profitable block. So fascinating changes.
Maybe just something interesting that we're seeing on the grapevine nursery side as well. Producers are starting to plant some vineyards, so it's nice to see on the nursery side in terms of order. Most nurseries' order books are full, and it's nice to see that live excitement in the industry with people planting new vineyards and investing in the industry.
That is so exciting. I was actually going to ask you that. Are the plantings growing? Is the area that's being planted expanding?
So in terms of the total hectarage is still shrinking. So at this stage we're sitting at about 86,000, just a little bit more than 86,000. But if you compare the amount of vineyard hectares that were planted in the past 2 or 3 years with what we're seeing now, we are definitely seeing more hectares being planted. If we're there at that balance of putting in more than we're taking out, we're not there yet. But it's nice to see that we're moving in that direction at this stage.
Fantastic. That's good to know, because I'm not in the wine industry, but I live in the Western Cape and travel around. And you've seen a lot of wine farms converting to growing other things.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that actually there are new plantings happening and it's going well.
Yeah, I think the change is that we will probably in 5 years from now not measure hectares. Because at the moment, we will measure the yield per vine, because we're planting high density blocks now. So you will see this vine by pole, stock by pole.
Yes, I've seen it. Yes.
And then Conrad helped me, but there you do about 6,000 vines per hectare versus conventionally 2,700. So we will probably find the aerial mapping shrink, but our yield increase, because we do different practices, and that's where these smart oaks does an amazing job to measure and the project that he mentioned, where we go and do regional demos, we believe from day one that it's not research, but it is for producers to follow. Seeing is believing. This combination, you can write it up, but to see that in Darling this can work makes it for the grower. He doesn't risk to do the order. He can actually see, and he can go to the Breede Kloof and other sites as well. So part of why we restructured, if you listen to this story, is it was needed that the expertise of technical production focus. And when I was still at Vinpro, we started picking up a lot of the further downstream elements, which meant that the grower organization ended up with anything from the Cape Town port to... And we decided deliberately that a strength by history is that Vinpro and what it does should focus, and Conrad does what he does well. And we need to set up this new SA Wine structure to look at the things which is further down, which is the wineries, winemaking, distribution, markets, and then all the regulation. Because we deal with 10 national departments, not only agriculture, it's treasury and tourism and health. And I think we basically, if you want to understand the difference, we reorganized ourselves that we've got deep specialization, but also he's got the ear of the growers. In the partnership is my other members would be my wineries, brand owners, distributors. And the beauty of the two organizations is, and what is unique, organizations all over the world either look at the growers or the winemakers or exporters. With SA Wine and Vinpro, we represent everybody. And I think there's a beauty, understanding the commercial conflict of buy and sell, but it does allow us to move at pace when it's about research, or to look at ESG sustainability into the Dutch market, and I think we will keep on tightening the belt and making sure the accountability sit. But thus far, it does have its synergy. As long as we keep on navigating. But yeah, that really is why SA Wine was established, to make sure accountability is set, and accountability is a cell phone number. Hey, it's not a committee or a board. We are dealing, and what somebody said the work you and I do is we the windscreen. Hey, we take the wind and the hohas away from the grower that they can farm. And that's what we do. We try and make life easier. And then we try and give them solutions which they can tap into. And I think if you cut across everything we do, we are the wind beneath your wings. No, we're the windscreen. And
You're getting very, very poetic.
And we coordinate and give solutions.
Yeah.
And I think that in essence is what industry bodies does
Or should do.
It's a very good description, in fact, because the farmer wants to farm, not have to deal with all the issues that you deal with. And if you are doing what he needs and serving, then he can carry on doing what he does.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, ask you, what is the biggest challenge that you face, that your organization faces?
Maybe I would just like to clarify as well on the roles between SA Wine and Vinpro.
Sure.
So I think Rico mentioned one of the things about the history and then the producer organization. So it's quite interesting if you go back into history. The first seeds of Vinpro were planted about 47 years ago, where KWV established a extension service to go out to their wine grape producers. And I think, trying to answer your challenges today, we still have a need to get good technical information to producers. But at that stage, the guy that were appointed was Jan Boysen. And I remember Jan told me that he would come back with an aeroplane from Uppington, and then the next morning, when he gets back to the office in Paul, he needs to be in the Klein Karoo. So the demand was so big and it grew so fast. A couple of years down the line, they had an extension officer in most of the wine growing region. Actually, more than one extension officer in some of the regions with lots of demand. And then the producers also said, listen, but you can tell us what to do, but we also need to keep track of these costs. So that was actually the birth of that production plan that we touched on. And then if you go down that history, in 2003, Vinpro actually became independent from KWV. So it's nice to keep track of that history. And then a couple of big things. 2003, the first CEO was Jos Leroux. The first chairperson over there was Daniel de Wet, that's from the Wetshof Wine Estate. And then in 2011, I think we bought Vititech, the nursery that we talked about, to bring in that clonal expertise for the wine grape producers. That was also the year that we procured you from banking,
Yes.
if I remember correctly.
I can vividly remember. December.
Did you hear you were classed with a nursery and you were procured?
I came
Okay.
with the purchase and the building.
Yeah, and so the building that Rico refers to was built in 2014 across the Toyota garage in Paul.
Yeah.
We're still there. And so I think the heart of that business still lies on the consultation side
Okay.
to provide good services towards producers. So we still have that service where the consultants go out to the producers, spend a lot of time with them in the different wine growing regions to know exactly what the challenges are.
Okay.
We also follow that model on the board side, where we have a board member representing all different wine growing regions. And I think it gives us a good understanding what the challenges are out there within the different wine growing regions with our boots in the field to react on that and play towards our strengths, or then go to Riku and his team and ask them for assistance on matters that they play on.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for explaining the history. Because
How many extension offers do you have at the moment?
So currently the total team at Vinpro is about 66 permanent staff, and then on the nursery side we bring in about 150 people when we're busy grafting during
Sure.
the season. So yeah, on the extension side we have 11 different wine growing regions. So if we don't have an extension officer in that region, we fly one up there or one travels to that region, because we typically have a big contract with most of the sellers in that region.
Oh, wow.
What they also do well is to liaise with professional viticulturists. So you've got a forum. I always say there are about 900 winemakers and only 50 viticulturists. So,
Yeah.
but you guys coordinate, and you've got WhatsApp groups, and
So that knowledge transfer platform is captured in Advico that we spoke about earlier as well. So they coordinate these viticulture forums where viticulturists from across all wine growing regions getting together, discussing technical issues. But then they also do smaller study groups within the different regions. So it's more intimate, 4 or 5 people going out to a vineyard, having a look at brooding practices, irrigation practices. So we drive that information and knowledge transfer as well.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Thanks for the
the
explanation.
only other industry that's as organized is the citrus industry, with the extension officers and
Yeah.
research and all that. Just
a lot of commodities walked away from extension officers and are bringing it back again. So it's interesting. You asked the question, the biggest
I was about to ask you
Challenges.
your biggest challenge.
is data and data ownership. Not because of AI only, but I think in years to come, we'll realize we sit on a myriad of data. We've got 100 years of data. We've got 100 years of research. At the moment, we contest the ownership. What we believe is ours will have to be negotiated. And then our biggest risk is AI. His grower or my exporter that goes to ChatGPT for an answer and not to the science is a risk of making a mistake. And I think we as commodity bodies need to make sure where we can that those search engines run on the back of the science that we have. And I think it's a bit of a frightening thought, but data will be the game changer. Those who get it right will be able to run circles around others, and I think it's something for all commodity bodies in South Africa and organizations.
so, how much of this data that you're worried about that might be misinterpreted is available in the public sphere, that I can now pick up my phone and I can access records or studies from 1943 versus what might cause a problem?
Quite a bit, and I think it's a good thing. So by no means. So for example, Vinpro publishes a establishment cost guide.
Yeah.
So you can physically take that booklet, run the PDF through ChatGPT and ask him, what will be the cost of Pinot Noir planted in Helderberg, Stellenbosch? And within 2 minutes, you'll have an answer. Is the answer is the question. And where's the science and the risk if you're going to do a 2-3 million expansion? And I think we need to strike the balance between the AI and the ground truthing. But we will also find we sit on data which is worth nothing, and that the real data is what we can extract in real time. And therefore, in this space, things like TerraClim, with which is a climate solution, that's the kind of things where you guys are doing it just to provide your growers with a proper weather forecast or a frost warning, or using the data to broker a region's insurance premiums on probability of anything.
Yes.
So I think it's an exciting path, but funnily enough, it's the biggest challenge, but also the biggest opportunity.
We had a previous guest gave us the most incredible description of AI. They said, from a user's perspective, it's your over-enthusiastic, overachieving intern.
Yeah.
Always remember, it's an intern. You cannot put that stuff forward as your own. You still have to check.
Yeah.
So if somebody goes and they gets their data from ChatGPT,
Wherever.
and it might or might not be right or wrong or whatever, they're putting the intern stuff forward as their own.
Yeah.
They need to know they have to go and check
Yeah.
proper sources.
Yeah. It's also practical. Let's make it practical. For a winery with a tourism offering to at this stage not know who their visitors are, it's not good enough, I would argue. And I think these are the kind of things where we need to mine and extract and figure out, how do we keep those customers engaged? It is, I went to Napa to look at that specifically, and they do it really well. I think we are still too friendly and fuzzy, and it's good, sunshine, to ask the email address, and can I engage with you, and can I send you our spring collection? And so I think we're trying to do best practice and models without interfering in the transaction. But this is where norms and standards, like you are doing at the moment, what should be the cost of wine production in a winery of a certain size? And that 50 cents or rand makes up a lot of money on the farm if it's inefficient. So it'll be change and more change. I think we're going to see lots more consolidation, probably less wineries. Wineries are, the bigger ones are factories, and a factory need to run at full capacity. I think we'll see more investment coming, local and international. I think wine tourism is going to boom. Think about a new airport coming.
So exciting. Super
How
exciting.
do we set up
Then
for
we don't have to
that?
look into the bloody wall if we drive on the N2.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine.
You can paint some adverts on that wall.
We'll take their
I'm
money.
joking.
So, yeah, can we navigate it? Yeah, I think we can navigate it.
I think it's very exciting that you touched on the new airport and where it's located. And the fact is that, we can only serve tourists to the number that they can actually physically get here.
Yeah.
With our current airport, it's super busy in the summer months. If we can double or certainly increase the number of people arriving with money to spend and wanting to go and see wine and drink wine, I think it's a massive, massive opportunity that's coming our way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like external to the wine industry. But if it brings the tourists, it'll be incredible.
Remember our smaller wineries. Wineries are really SMME, small companies. We always think about the big names we know about, and they are big. But 400 of the 500 wineries has got a turnover below 10 million, which makes them small, which makes them extremely reliant on a direct sale. And therefore, tourism for the smaller ones are such an important part. They sell 40% of their revenue direct. And that's why we need to recoup that. And then just a wrong perception. We think international tourists are international people. 60% of our tourists are South Africans.
Yes.
And that's why when we talk domestic market and Gauteng specific, that's how the linkages happen with consumers and routes and travel, and it's a whole science. Also, how do we share opportunities? Establish Stellenbosch partnering with a Yamada Order, or because the big attractions in Cape Town are full. The cable car is full, Robben Island is full. So how do we get them out? Show them opportunities, and yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, it's very exciting.
Conrad, I think you wanted to say something about a challenge.
Well, I would agree with Riku in terms of data. I think the wine industry sits with wonderful sources of data. So, example is WineMS on the Vinpro side. So, currently about 73% of the tonnages run through that system. So, the system captures data from the farm side and all the way to a point of sales light version with some clients. But it's really interesting to have access to live data. So, for instance, this morning at about 10 o'clock before I came here, I had a quick look, and I could see the amount of tons that we picked in the different wine growing regions.
Okay.
So, if you make a couple of assumptions, we're sitting at about 30% of all the tonnages that's safely in the cellar at this stage. So, in the Vinpro environment, we're trying to organize the data in such a way that we can speak between the different departments, but then also with our affiliates. So we're actually busy with a big Vinpro big data project to structure and organize the data in such a way to be able to work with other entities in the industry. So hopefully when we get there, to be able to speak between the different entities, everybody's fit to run that marathon. All the data is structured and we can work together. But I think we sit with wonderful data and we can do amazing business intelligence. So that's definitely a challenge. In terms of AI and artificial intelligence, I'm of the opinion the teams and the people that learn how to use that effectively and how to make their working environment more efficiently will be the winners at the end of the day. But yeah, definitely something that we should embrace at this stage.
Thank you.
Do growers have access to that data that you've got? For instance, like you said, you know that X amount of tons came in yesterday from Robertson, for instance.
So if you are a subscriber to WineMS, in that example, you can access your own data. But
Just
the
your own.
collective data
Yeah.
is, you cannot see that. So I
Because,
think that's where the power lies to use that
Because
data as well.
with AI is just as good as the stuff that you feed it.
Yeah,
And at the current moment,
yeah.
AI is very good at interpreting data that you give it. So if farms, wineries have got that data, they can train their own models to become a little bit more predictive with them.
Yeah. I just think also we sometimes overrate and we hide data.
Yes.
And I think there's been an evolution. I am a supporter of open source. Publish the data. Publish. Why can't we publish all the Chenin Blanc exports going to London? You'll find they figure out how they collectively will play.
Yes.
There are sensitive things, having said that, but I think we need to be sure. Sometimes we say it's competition commission. I think we should publish climate data. I think we should show it. Companies are smart enough to take that and play with that. And don't underestimate how solid some of these players are.
Wow. Fascinating.
Very, very interesting. Well, we kind of need to start getting to the end of our chat because, I mean, can you believe this? We've been talking for more than an hour. It feels like a few minutes. But maybe if you guys would like to share a message with us about the wine industry, whoever is listening.
You want to go first?
I could maybe say something about the harvest because we are busy with the harvest now.
Please
and
do.
I think in terms of what we're seeing with the harvest, we bring out crop estimations a couple of times in the season. So the first crop estimation was done in December. At that stage, we did see that it was a very dry season. So usually what you see during those season is that the vines wake up a bit earlier, faster root activities, and then we also had really good growing conditions. So the first estimation, we estimated the crop being a little bit bigger than what we had in the previous year of 2025. However, with January, we changed that to come down a little bit, just a little bit below the harvest of 2025, and that's
Okay.
mainly to the drier conditions, with berries being smaller. In terms of wine quality, that's what makes any viticulturist excited. Small berries means concentration in the fruits, good color in the wine. So, yeah, I think the initial grapes that's in the cellar a little bit earlier, very good quality indicators in terms of all the parameters that we measure in the cellars. And then we still have a couple of months to go up until the end of March, beginning of April. But the quality is looking really good at this stage. And yeah, I would just like to tell all our producers, keep at it, you're doing a good job, and let's keep the quality there. I know it's a busy time of the year.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. It's really nice to know.
Well, it's that story that you said about you asked the table grape farmer what's the best time of the year, and he said that they put the lock on my back shed.
When I'm done. Look, I would always say, let's tell the story. We operate in a country, and as South Africans, we're sometimes too modest. But what
Yeah.
do we do? We sell 1 million bottles of wine every day of the year for 365 days. That's 1 million ambassadors. But let's tell the story of agriculture, jobs, value add, and the engine that it could be. And if anybody links to a policymaker, this is the discussion we need to have. Once you tamper with this chain, you get a negative result, but imagine you support it.
Yep.
What we can do for rural economies, and then it's not about the wine, it's about the people. And I think that's my message. Let's together keep each other informed and preach the good gospel.
And let's drink some wine.
And drink some wine. Yeah.
We owe it to the
From
farmers.
the vine to the wine.
We owe it to the farmers, you know. We've got to do our bit.
So we've
But
got,
thanks for joining us, and we've got a tradition.
yeah. So all our guests, and you guys included, will leave a question for the next person. And I'm going to ask 2 questions here, and I've got them, and there's 2 vastly different ones.
So from someone before us has
Oh,
left a
okay.
question, random, not
Okay.
knowing who it's
Who's
going
the
to
next
be.
guest?
So this is the wild card.
Okay, let's say which one of you have been in the wine industry the longest?
Probably you. I don't know.
Okay,
I've been from about 2000, so.
Okay, so that's 26 years, and you've
Yeah.
been 12?
12 years, 13
Okay,
years.
okay, good. So now, okay, so the one that's been the longest is going to get the controversial one. So,
Very good.
Pass the phone.
Rico, what is your dream? What do you dream about when you go to bed? And it doesn't have to be about the wine industry. What is a big dream that you've got?
Your retirement. No, I would love, agriculture is my passion, so I would always like to see how we can give back and pass it forward. And so I enjoy the phase I'm in now, where you can share some of your wisdom and see how others can take it forward. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm passionate about that, giving back.
Do you guys know Kali Skuman from Skuman Boerdery?
Yeah.
He said to us in an interview that there's 3 phases in life: learn, earn, and return.
Yeah.
So it sounds
I
like
think-
you entering the
Yeah,
return.
mentorship. It's amazing what people will do. So
Wow. Okay.
And what people value when you
Yes.
talk to them. You things that you take for granted,
Yeah.
and you share with someone, and they go, "Wow!" And you go, "Well, that's just what you've learned."
yeah,
Along the way.
just key. I mean, we are leaders of ourselves and others, and yeah, it's a fantastic, challenging to manage, but also wonderful to share it. And there's so many passionate people out there, so I love it.
Wow. Okay, Conrad, for you, what's your biggest embarrassment in your career? What was your biggest embarrassment in your career?
I've got so many. Thank you. I didn't get that one.
How much time do you have?
We've got some time.
Sure.
maybe a funny story that happened somewhere. Whatever.
While he thinks, I'll tell a short one. I was in the bank. And as a banker, you take over relationships. And we went to this farmer in, I shouldn't say we, but...
Okay, yes, you went to a farmer.
Anyway, Swartland region. And I heard in the introduction that his name is Yanni Costa. And so I spent lots of hours with Yanni. And after 2 years, I left and I handed back. And as I did that, he said, look, I just want to have one correction. My name is not Yanni. It is Giovanni.
Oh.
And I saw on the file, big letters, Giovanni Costa. I missed it for 2 years. So I said, why didn't you help me? He said, I needed the money.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, I think, like Rico, I think there's so many stories, but the one that I remember right now, I was somewhere I had the opportunity to go and visit a couple of producers in France, and I walked into this building of an industry body, but obviously you do not know all the people, and the secretary told me it's on the first floor, the second office on the right. And the appointment is at 9, so I walked into this office and I introduced myself to this person, and he was had a couple of question marks, and I sat down, I took out all the paperwork and the presentation, and I started presenting, and about 10 minutes down the line he stopped me and he said, I think you're in the wrong office, you should be across the road from here. So yeah, that was quite embarrassing, but that's the way we learn.
A nice different loopy.
Funny things happen. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been inspiring, and we've learned a lot. And it sounds like you're doing incredible things, both in your different fields. And good luck. And I definitely think we'll chat to you guys again.
And I would just like to say, I don't know if you get enough thank yous from the industry.
Yeah,
it's a challenging industry. It's got so many things that can go wrong. So thank you for what you guys are doing right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe just a thank you for you as well. I mean, we've been trying to get together for a couple of months now, so it was almost like herding cats into a bag. But thank you, and thank you for your passion for agriculture as well. I think it's really nice to have a reputable platform to share information with. So thank you for your passion and effort.
Thank you.